Here are my 5 predictions for 2025 garden trends. A lot revolve around just the socioeconomic climate we're currently in. To be honest, it's almost kind of sad that the trends are going this direction, but regardless, that's my predictions. I'm basing these predictions off of my YouTube analytics, from the videos I'm seeing kind of in and around the internet, discussions on Reddit posts, TikToks, etc. and so forth. So when I say analytics, I mean videos that center around a certain topic tend to have more views than other ones. And so ones that have very high unnatural spikes, in my opinion, are probably trends, something that's people are looking at or trying to get towards. Okay, number 1 is food forest. This is a combination of different ways at doing it, most of which are perennial ways. And so food forests are something that many influencers are doing, rightfully so. And the idea here is low maintenance, food producing hot patches of land and utilizing every square inch of land that you do have to produce food. So you have your big trees, you have your vines, you have your little plants. It's an investment in the beginning, but that investment will trickle down into years and years of fruits or vegetables, depending on what route you go. The reason why I think food forests are going to become more popular is solely because they produce food. They're not for decorative reasons. They're not for the purpose of biodiversity. I solely see people doing this to feed their families with because of the cost of fresh fruits and vegetables, which is so upsetting and sad to me. But anyways, food forests 2025, I'm going to see more of those. Guaranteed you're going to see more of those. Number 2 is not sad. It is just simply a fact of life, and that is low maintenance gardens. This is gardens and lawns, by the way, both of them. So the idea here is grasses that don't have to be cut as often, or just gardens in general that are self-sustaining. And this can be, rock gardens to perennials to literal flower lawns, you name it. Just things that you don't have to fiddle futz around with. And that comes down to time. Everyone's really busy. And so because of that, low maintenance is the way of the future. I'm seeing smaller and smaller yards, and I'm seeing more and more conversions to less and less greenery. Now, there's ways you can do this where you still maintain like a decent amount of biodiversity in your lawn or your yard. But regardless, I do think that it's definitely a trend. Number 3 is grafting. So this one is new, very new. I'm just starting to see it more mainstream here recently, and I think it's a really cool concept. I'm gonna do some videos on it because many of you have been asking for them, but this can come in so many different shapes and sizes. This can come in flower plants, flower perennials like roses. It can come in fruiting plants, cherry trees, that sort of thing. There's also house plants you can do this with, the tomatoes you can do this with. And now the purpose for this is multi-factor. So for example, if you wanted different varieties of cherries and you only had a certain space to put these cherries in, and you can't put multiple trees, one way you can counteract this is by grafting on a different variety of cherries. So you're utilizing the same space, but you're getting both varieties that you were gunning for, if you will. This also for roses, for example. If you want to mesh more colors together, you could technically graft some pretty funky things into existence. Now, the other concept, if you will, that we tend to use this for is for durability. So what I mean by that is certain plants are better adapted to specific conditions. So there are some tomatoes that are absolutely delicious, absolutely beautiful, but they have horrible root systems for taking on dangerous forms of nematodes or certain soil conditions. Their needs are different below ground. Now, one way to get the unique yields or fruits from a tomato plant that isn't as durable is to actually graft the unique tomato plant to a more durable, tried and true root stem, if you will. And literally, I'm talking cutting. Essentially what this results in is a plant that's able to thrive and survive in an environment that it normally would not do well in. And this can be multi-factor, like it's not just tomatoes. There's so many different reasons for grafting. Plus it's fun. It's a fun little thing to do. Why not? Give her a shot. I will do a video on it though, and I do see this happening more and more, probably very likely into 2025. 4, I almost liked it. 4 is double cropping. So I'm talking about in environments that you normally only can get one crop out of. I am seeing a hard push for trying to get more out of that same space. So for example, there's a video coming out that I'm doing on seeds to start in December. Some of those seeds are solely because of the fact that you can get an early harvest if you start them now. In that, I'm talking about using cold frames. So that's one example where you can get a harvest that you normally would get midsummer at early summer. Outside of the early spring, we're seeing more fall attempts to garden. My area is very difficult to do this in. I set everything up, had everything going, and then we got footages of snow. Everything's buried now, and there's just no way I can unbury it because she's deep. Regardless, I do see that becoming more of a trend. The other way that people manage this outside of early starting and trying to keep things going later is actually planting crops that have quicker turnaround times, if you will. And when the turnaround time is finished, having something ready to go to replace that area. So for example, if you had radishes or a lettuce or spinach, something that has like a very quick turnaround time that you start in ground, that can be harvested, removed, dealt with, and then a new crop can be put in its place. Conversely, if you had, say, a cucumber plant, it's spent, you're done with cucumbers, you have enough pickles to last you a lifetime, you can rip out that plant and then put in its place a different crop that has a shorter growing season. For example, radish, lettuce, that sort of thing. So utilizing the space and putting more plant into that space over a period of time, which is not for the faint of heart. I do personally find I get burnout. Like right now, I feel like I'm going through a little bit of burnout from the gardening season and just life in general. So, I mean, just if you're gonna go these routes of trying to produce food, just don't push yourself too hard and don't beat yourself up if it doesn't work, because like I said, there's a little bit of burnout that can factor in, particularly when we're really hyper focused on producing a lot of food and you're the only person in the house that does it. Last one is front yard conversions. So I personally converted my front yard to a garden, full blown. She's gardening now. And I'm seeing this more and more all over the city. And before it was like socially unacceptable, I guess you could say. People still are kind of like, I'm not too sure. Other people love it. Depends on the person, depends on what you're looking for. But I do think that this is a trend that's going to continue onwards, particularly as people's yard space becomes smaller and smaller. So smaller backyards and mean you can utilize the front yard. And this obviously is a good thing because you increase biodiversity. I mean, you have more biomass accumulate. There's so many different benefits to going this route. But I do think it's going to be a trend, and it's, again, based on kind of like a sad factor of life, which is grocery prices are expensive, and the idea of growing food on your own is cheap. It's cheaper than buying from the grocery store. Now, this particularly holds true for those of you that start your own seeds direct sown outdoors rather than indoors with electricity and heat mats and greenhouses and that sort of thing. Once you start getting to that range, you could maybe argue that it's more expensive. But if we're talking direct sown, middle of March or May type thing, she's cheaper, guaranteed cheaper. But those are my 5 predictions for 2025. If you want to know what needs to stay in 2024, this video right here and that video down there is what seeds you need to start in December. So yeah, I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.